I always go the wrong way. So I want to talk a little bit about how green infrastructure how you as a permittee, and my presentation is really geared toward permittees, how you as a permittee can use green infrastructure to meet your permit requirements. So first I wanted to talk a little bit about what green infrastructure is from the department's perspective, how it fits into your permits. I want to talk some more about partnerships. I know that we talked about it a lot today, but I can't stress its importance enough. And then I also want to talk about some ongoing projects that are being funded through EIT, different funding opportunities that we use through the partnership process that will ultimately be used to meet permit requirements. So what's green infrastructure with respect to the department? So it's any stormwater management strategy that treats runoff close to the source. It uses infiltration, treatment by soils or vegetation, or storage for reuse. Why does the department really love green? We really love green because it's a great way to promote resiliency. So if you treat stormwater close to the source, every drop that you treat where it falls does not go into your overburdened system. Whether it's an Ms4 system, whether it's a CSO system, adopted this ordinance to be citywide. So it doesn't just apply to your Ms4 permit area, it also applies to your CSO area. For the most part. So again, I'm gonna call out the city of Newark because it happens to be a control ordinance I'm familiar with. So the city of Newark has adopted their stormwater control ordinance to be citywide. And what they've done, which is pretty amazing, is they have gone above the state requirements and made a significantly more stringent quantity requirement for all major developments. So what that means is that because Newark knows they're combined, they know that the quantity requirement in the stormwater management rules is what they can use to help with their CSO issues. They've made that more stringent. So I encourage you as a permittee, if you have a municipality, to think about your stormwater control ordinance. Think about how you have adopted it. Think about what requirements you've done. Have you just done the basic state requirements? Are there things that in your municipality that you can use to help you get to where you need to go with the combined overflow issue? The other thing that I mentioned was this mitigation plan. So stormwater management rules say that you may not issue a waiver for strict compliance of the design and performance standards unless you have a mitigation plan in place. And your mitigation plan needs to be part of your master plan. So if you have this mitigation plan in place, you can really think about how you can roll green into it. So Chris is here. He's one of our great partners. He's been working with the Township of Hamilton. They are not a CSO community, but they have acknowledged that they have some stormwater issues, and they are thinking that they'd like to incorporate green much more than they do now. And they're thinking about how to get this mitigation plan set up to be able to have green infrastructure built in their municipality through private investment. And so what this essentially ends up doing is Chris is helping them figure out their impervious cover. It's helping them figure out some areas where in the municipality green can fit. And so now when a developer goes into Hamilton and they can't meet the design and performance standards under the stormwater control ordinance, there's now this ability to look at this mitigation plan and get some private investment in green. How is Hamilton going to ultimately do it? I think we're still in the draft proposal, but if you think about it, you could do it however it works for your city. So if you want to do green and you've got lots of rights of way, and you don't have the money to build it, maybe what you need to think about for a mitigation plan is listing of projects that maybe a developer can come in and can't meet their volume requirement, they can't meet their groundwater recharge requirement. And here's a list of green infrastructure projects in public rights of way that maybe that mitigation can go for. So think about fitting your Ms4 and your CSO permit goals together, because there are creative ways to do this. Additionally, both permits require inventorying and mapping, and I'm thinking that maybe if you're going to do that, work with the characterization you already have to do for your system anyway. So in an area where you know that there's a sewer shed that green can work in, if you've got a community group that's there, that's really going to help with prioritization. Community support. I know in the city of Newark, there is Newark DIC working really closely with the neighborhoods to try to encourage them and educate them about greening, about why green is necessary, about the problems with the CSO, with the idea that at some point when rate changes occur, you've got a community group that's already working with those ratepayers, and it can help, and they can help you. They can really help you gain that support. Technical assistance. These partnerships often include EPA, DEP, Rutgers. It includes down in Camden, you've got the Urban Waters Partnership. That includes NOAA and Army Corps, and I know many that I'm forgetting. But my point is there's groups that have the technical assistance to help. If you're a smaller municipality that doesn't necessarily already have that stuff in-house, when you build partnerships, you gain access to this. Additionally, some of your partners like DEP or Army Corps are also going to be your permitting folks. So if you can get the people who are going to ultimately issue permits on board early, this can really help with the permits and leveraging those. So the nonprofits generally have access to funds that you as municipalities and utilities do not have access to. Also, when you partner with other groups, I know with Ms4 Permits, I am constantly inundated with funding opportunities that I would normally, if I wasn't partnered with them, probably not even look at, but now you're getting this constant stream of information about small-scale funding opportunities that you could really take advantage of and leverage together to do a larger project. So, at the end of the day, I sort of have watched a lot of the thunder because all these projects and pictures you've probably seen, but this is the Sussex Avenue School again. This is a Trust for Public Land project. It was happening anyway, but Trust for Public Land has become a really good partner with New York DIG, so we anticipate that this is just the beginning of really great green infrastructure projects in Newark under New York DIG, but also with Trust for Public Land. This traffic triangle was a partnership between Rutgers Cooperative Extension Water Resources and